Welcome everyone, I'm Exceptional and I hope you are too. Welcome to the finale for my Stardew Valley Perfection series in version 1.6. Let's jump in. In the transition between years 2 and 3, we get our evaluation from Grandpa. Depending on how much we've accomplished, we will get between 0 and 4 candles lit at the shrine on our farm. Grandpa is super proud of the work that we've done, and despite it being mostly obscured by a coop, we do get the 4 candles lit. Like so many other things in this game, there is no time pressure to get this done. You can always submit a diamond to Grandpa's shrine and be re-evaluated to get your 4 candles. There are a maximum of 21 points that you can get, but a score of 12 or higher will net you the Statue of Perfection. Slap this bad boy down on your farm and it will produce between 2 and 8 iridium ore every day for free. It's a new year and a fresh field, so let's get to work. The plan this year is to incorporate a bunch of those ancient seeds that I've been growing into the field. Without any buffs, they take 28 days to grow, but then they regrow every 7. 28 days unboosted, that is. We can use some fertilizer to accelerate this. You might think it odd that it has a grow time of 28 days. Isn't it gonna die going into the next season? Not these ancient fruits. They will continue to grow all through spring, summer, and fall. Unfortunately, I don't quite have enough seeds, so the rest of the field is just gonna be strawberries again. Now that we're back in spring and the townspeople like me a little bit more, I can get my final cutscene. With Jazz and Vincent at 7 hearts apiece, we will get the Spring Onion cutscene. This is going to unlock the final power, making spring onions more valuable, but not that valuable for me. I have a lot better ways to make money at this point in the game. With my new boo Harvey, I have to make sure to take a trip down to the beach while it's raining. This guy only shows up when it's raining, and you're able to buy the Mermaid's Pendant from him. This is the mechanic that allows you to ask your boyfriend or girlfriend to marry you. After that, I start chasing down some cooking ingredients. Carp Surprise is among the things I need, so I'm fishing for carp using the challenge bait to try and catch 3 at a time. Once I've snagged those, it's off to the river in front of Leah's house to get some more rainbow trout. It feels good to be knocking off these tasks. Next on Ginger Island, I've been using the little strip across the river from the main farm to grow fiber. For being such a low-tier resource, I sure put a lot of value into this. And of course, we're nowhere near done with these kegs. I have so much kegging in my future. On the 7th day of spring year 3, it's time for our wedding ceremony. Mayor Lewis is the one that conducts the ceremony, and he says that I am now going to be as much a part of this town as any of them. Incorrect. I alone am going to be responsible for this valley's income in the coming months. We kiss, cut to black, and life is going to be different from now on. Which is true, because the first 2 years, I went hard, pushing every day until like 1 a.m. at least. For the remainder of this series, if there's nothing that I feel needs to get done, I'm gonna be going back to bed. With the field outside now carrying our ancient fruit, I'm gonna be swapping the greenhouse over to the rare seeds. This is the only way, aside from buying them one at a time from the traveling merchant if he happens to have them, to expand your crop of rare seeds. Taking a look at our friendship tab, I am getting so stinking close. Harvey now shows up as my husband, and I have a quick note about the friendship. Until you max out your friendship with each of the individual townspeople, your friendship will decay slowly. Once you reach 10 hearts or 8 hearts with eligible dating candidates, it will no longer decay every day. So, after becoming best friends with everybody in the town, I'm slowly working my way back into my hermit lifestyle. While editing this final section of the playthrough, I'm definitely debating on how much of the starfruit and kegging I should be showing. Just know that even if I'm not showing it, I am diligently harvesting Ginger Island, replanting Ginger Island, and heading back to the kegs to refill them. This pass with the kegs is likely one of the last times you're going to be seeing beer coming from these things. With Ginger Island rocking starfruit and our farm now producing ancient fruit, I think we're gonna be good for wine. And how appropriate that with a pocket full of beer, I find this cutscene. Shane is definitely one of the more troubled bachelors in town. This scene is quite heartbreaking, actually. He's wasted and convinced that he's a waste of life. I let him know that that is definitely not true. All life is precious, and just like Gandalf said, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to us. I help him to the clinic, and it looks like Shane is going to be working with a therapist from Zuzu City. It's going to be a long and difficult road, but that's what makes life worth living. Looking back at the challenges you've overcome, and forward at the challenges you've yet to tackle. The next morning, the first of the strawberry crops is ready. This strawberry crop is going to be serving only for cash. I will not be processing them at all. As I mentioned, the Starfruit and Ancient Fruit wine are going to be our breadwinners from now on. Ancient Fruit wine, of course, being the second most valuable wine in the valley. I have also been nailing off more key quests if they've been worth the time. I've got the 100 items of different colors quest again, and as you can see, I'm just emptying chests at this point. Aquamarine? Sure, I have no other use for it. I turn that in for a total of 69 key gems. Nice. And immediately spend it on the last recipe that I need to buy from the key shop. One thing that I've definitely been keeping an eye out for are these furniture catalogs. As of this update, there are a total of 7 available. These catalogs provide any furniture pieces, flooring, wallpapers, any of the decoration items that we want for free. You just have to obtain the catalogs first, which cost money. This Joja-themed one should be the last of my special catalogs. The last 2 should be available for purchase from both Pierre and Robin. And here it is, the last of the beer coming out of the kegs. No more one-day cycles. I have so much kegging in my future that I will happily take the 7-day wine cycle. Back on the farm, there's more strawberries ready, and this iridium scythe. I haven't mentioned it in a long time, but it is still so glorious to use. Not if, but when I play through this game again, I am 100% pushing for the farming mastery first. While cooking one of every single recipe, I have been saving them in a chest. This works out beautifully, as I pretty much have everything that I need for the trash bear available already. The trash bear is going to have a couple of quests for us involving random items. Here's your red plate, buddy, and what do you want next? Oh, plum pudding, okay. I had one of those in the chest too, here you go. Upon completing the last of his requests, we get a cutscene where the trash bear cleans up the trash in the valley. A little bit outside of the sewer, but a lot in front of Pam's house. What's that? Do my eyes deceive me? Alex's dog for a second time? I get excited by the strangest things. The next day, the Desert Festival is back on, and I have 2 goals that I'm here for. The first being the recipe for tropical curry. It's available from Leo's shop, but that's only if he is selected to have a shop this year. It is also available for purchase from Gus when he decides to go to the island resort. It's random which group of the townspeople is going to the beach, and Gus is just refusing to get his vitamin D. Yes, I have been checking every day for quite a while now. Goal 2 is going to be having a bit of fun. Since I need the calico eggs in order to purchase anything from the vendors, let's see just how many I can get in a day. By, of course, abusing a bunch of staircases in Skull Cavern. I remember from last year that the townspeople go home at midnight, so in the last couple minutes of the day, I'm blasting through ladders to get down to floor 250. There's no real goal in mind with that, aside from 250 is a nice even number. I pop back up to get my egg rating evaluated by Gil, and I think I break Gil a little bit. With a rating between 55 and 999, we get 500 calico eggs, a magic rock candy, and 1 surprised Gil. If you manage to go above 1,000, you will hear a voice in your head. It would be dishonorable to submit an egg rated acquired through the use of cheat code software. That's right, cheaters, Concerned Ape is watching. Including this reward and what I gathered throughout the mine today, I have 1,200 calico eggs to spend. And, of course, no inventory space. I check out some of the other shops, and Jazz has another rock candy available. Heck yeah, why not? But that's gonna do it for today. While I wait for the festival to open the next day, I'm back on Ginger Island doing what I do. The merchants don't really have anything exciting for me the next day, and I have so many calico eggs, I'm just gonna buy some mystery boxes, sure. I've now also collected the leeks required for Evelyn's community board quest. This should be the second last one that I need to do. And to round out the day, I'm back at home re-enchanting my axe. I did have the Swift enchant on it originally, but I switched over to the Shaving enchant, and after using that for a while, I decided that I want my Swift enchantment back. Patience is not among my virtues. For completing the Leeks for George quest, Evelyn rewards me with a coffee maker. Well, isn't that convenient? I'm trying to get Harvey up to 12.5 hearts, and he just happens to love coffee. This coffee machine is going to provide 1 coffee every morning, which I can then just give to Harvey. Gosh, I'm lazy. Or is my laziness just planned efficiency? Let me know in the comments. It's the final day of the Egg Festival today, and you know what? Let's get Emily to redress us again. What kind of costume is she gonna come up with this year? I'm reminded of Tweedledee and Tweedledum by this latest outfit. And you know what? Just for you, Emily, I'm gonna rock this outfit all year. No dice on the tropical curry recipe, so I'm just spending whatever I have left for calico eggs. I grab another rock candy and some mega bombs, sure. 10 eggs left, desert flags. Sounds good. The next morning, my master plan starts to unfurl. Roll out of bed, grab the coffee from the pot, give it to Harvey, give him a smooch, and I've fulfilled all my relationship requirements. Which pays off, it's time to get the final star drop. Just like all of the other mystical ancient star fruits that we've eaten, it tastes like eggs. Delicious. What a start to the day. I harvest up the strawberry crop once again and then head south. This triggers another cutscene with my forest friends. I've now completed enough quests with the raccoon to get the Good Neighbors achievement. Their family seems to be thriving, and it almost makes me want to start my own. Harvey's in charge of that. Of course, I can't go 3 minutes without mentioning kegs. And let's take a look at this progress. All of the powers have been unlocked. All of the shipping, all of the fishing, all of the minerals, all of the artifacts, and I'm missing that darn tropical curry recipe. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. My key quest again this week is to get 100 items of each color, so I'm back at the saloon buying Joja Cola. Soon, very soon, I will come up with a solution to keep me from having to do this anymore. The next day, the excitement continues and the first crop of ancient fruits are ready to harvest, along with more strawberries. I decide to head to town and there's another cutscene that activates. I didn't mention it when I purchased it, but there are community upgrades available from Robin. For the low price of 500,000 gold and 950 wood, I'm able to upgrade Pam and Penny's house. I can choose whether or not to let it be known that I was the one that funded this. I choose not to because doing a good deed is reward in itself. As a result of my actions, we've now cleaned up all of the garbage around her house and converted the trailer into a home. Unfortunately, changing what's on the outside does not change what's within. Pam's had this house for all of a couple of hours and there's already beer cans all over her room. Why is she the designated bus driver? My new key quest is to once again cook 100,000 gold worth of fresh food, so it's off to Gus to buy coffee. Yeah, I am not stooping to the peasantry of creating my own coffee anymore.
Ginger Island Star Fruits.
Which leads us to something that I've really been waiting for the next day. I've completely ignored the flower dance up to this point, but there's a rare crow and a recipe that I need. I've been too shy to come to the flower dance by myself, but Harvey helps hold my hand throughout it. I'm lined up with the women, which tells you everything you need to know about our relationship. Grabbing that last rare crow unlocks the recipe for the deluxe scarecrow. Instead of a radius of 8 tiles, this thing has a radius of 16 tiles. And it's one more box checked in the quest to get all of the items crafted. Without any more recipes to buy in the key shop, I decided to start spending my gems a little bit more frivolously. 20 gems are going towards the aquatic sanctuary, the biggest fish tank available. And that bad boy's going into the bedroom, living room. Oh gosh, I think it's time to decorate. I'd love to say that there was some kind of overarching plan in this whole process, but that's not exactly my wheelhouse. I'm just gonna be throwing starfruit at the wall and hoping it sticks. I did decide to theme a couple of the rooms based on the catalogs, but aside from that, I'm just throwing it down, picking it up, throwing it down. Ooh, I like it. Since I don't really feel you need to hear me say that over and over, let's turn up the music a little and just enjoy a nice building montage. I'll see you on the other side. Two rooms decorated is feeling pretty good so far, but I had to throw this in. Not the kegs this time. As you can see, Robin is here, and she's doing a little bit of work on this cliffside. After buying the community upgrade for Pam's house, the next upgrade adds a bunch of shortcuts to the valley. Clearly, this shortcut is not gonna mean too much at the moment because my kegs are sitting here, but that will be changing soon enough. I spend more time decorating, this time going with a more retro theme, but it's time for another fun cutscene. I kinda wish I'd gotten this cutscene after I decorated because it's quite dark. No wonder Harvey is struggling so much in the kitchen. He's preparing us a lovely meal that we're going to enjoy in front of the fireplace. This is his very own angel hair pasta primavera with clams. Ooh, sorry honey, didn't I tell you I don't like seafood? This tastes like your mustache. Extra fiber indeed. The next day marks the start of summer, and I have another ancient fruit harvest ready to go. The summer season is going to be all about growing more starfruit. After filling out the fields with my starfruit, I head to Pierre's to buy a few more seeds. Looking back on this footage, I have no idea what I was thinking, but I buy 525 corn seeds. I head out to Sandy's in order to buy another 3,000 starfruit seeds, and once I get to Ginger Island, I realize my mistake. Corn seeds. You can even see player me getting confused here. With that though, I'm once again going to be shutting my trap and enjoying this beautiful soundtrack as I continue decorating. Overall, I'd say that this house has turned out quite nicely. Oh yeah, that thing appeared in the crib. I'll get back to that. The aquatic sanctuary is not just a home for fish, you can actually add a bunch of different decorations. Thank you once again to the Stardew Wiki and the endless supply of information on it. I grabbed a few extra items from my chests, but it's by no means full at the moment. I'll see what I can wrangle together over the coming weeks. The next day, I'm definitely up to no good as we're visiting the Luau. Why, you might ask? Well, I've had the mayor's lucky shorts that I extracted from Marnie's room sitting in a chest for a couple of years now. As we've seen in the past, we're able to add any ingredient we want to this potluck soup. I add in the mayor's lucky shorts and let's see how the governor likes it. It's a bit tangy, but actually the flavor is quite good. I guess that's what the fermentation process gets you. The governor finds the shorts in the soup and his tune changes pretty quickly. We fade to black and the governor is MIA while Lewis tells us how this appalling act is truly reprehensible. Aw, come on Lewis, I don't make the poops, I only disturb them. In typical sociopath fashion, I move on the next day to harvest more kegs. You can see now the shortcut that Robin has created, but it's completely blocked off by my kegs. I do have a plan for those kegs, and you'll be seeing that soon enough. Harvey now likes me about as much as I need him to, so the coffees are going into the fridge. Sorry, buddy. The middle of the month also marks a starfruit harvest on the main farm. Starfruit out, and wouldn't you guess it, starfruit back in. Now it's time for some real shenanigans. Why play one Stardew when you can play 4? Those multiplayer cabins that I built months ago are now finally going to be getting put to use. They're far too small for me at the moment, so I created 3 little minions to upgrade them. Unfortunately, the primary player on the farm cannot upgrade these houses. You have to do them with the actual player that lives there. The 16th day of summer in year 3 is gonna be our green rain day. So, as is tradition at this point, I go off and harvest a bunch of Harvey's mustache. I mean fiber. Believe it or not, even after all of this, I will be running out of it. The next day, I'm back to my shenanigans upgrading all of my player homes. I am gonna be making an error here though. As you can see, after I queue the upgrade, I am exiting each of the minions. I will be finding out over the coming days that these guys need to be logged in order for the house to upgrade. The passage of time while they're logged out does not seem to apply to their individual house upgrades. The next day, it's time to unveil my next master plan. In case you'd forgotten about all those maple trees at the tree farm, they've been tapped and producing maple syrup. That maple syrup is going towards building a massive field of bee houses. If you're curious about where some of these designs are coming from, it's not my brain. The Stardew Wiki has a bunch of them available, as does Reddit. I'm going to be building these bee houses out surrounding fairy roses, which is going to give us the most valuable honey. After more kegging and ancient fruit harvesting, I'm back at the island harvesting starfruit. As you can see, my bee house layout is getting quite a bit more filled out. I don't have the bee houses quite yet, but the wooden planks indicate where I'll walk, while the stone indicates where the bee houses will be placed. And yep, more kegging. Day 27 is my favorite day of the month because the iridium wine is done aging. Sweet, glorious iridium quality starfruit wine, you gotta love it. Which requires a lot of starfruit that I'm once again harvesting. I will not be replanting anything though because summer is almost up. It's now been 10 full days since I queued the upgrades on these cottages and they're still not upgrading. This is when I really started to investigate my boo-boo and figure out that the characters actually need to be in the game. I won't be quite so cloak and dagger about my sellables chest this time. As you can see, I've got some decent stacks of materials ready to sell. Since I'm feeling pretty flat broke at only 57k, I decided to sell everything that wasn't high value. Well, super high value anyway. Overnight, that nets us a dandy 1.8 million, which is likely going to disappear as quickly as it just appeared. Before the start of fall, I'm celebrating by planting a bunch of pumpkins. I'm definitely not getting any originality awards here, but hey, if it ain't broke. There is a little bit of danger in how this honey farm is being laid out. As I walk down the line, I can't really see what's in front of me because of all of the honey, and I end up harvesting one of the fairy roses. Once I harvest it, I not only have to regrow it, but the bee houses around it are now giving wild honey instead of the much more valuable fairy rose honey. I'll be showing you a solution for that once I figure it out. And I still can't seem to make it more than a few steps without mentioning something involving starfruit production. This is the only time that I'm going to be showing harvesting the maple syrup from the tree farm because I can only fit in so much redundancy. That latest harvest allows me to head back to Ginger Island with another 65 bee houses. The technique that I discovered is going to be splitting any stack of items to fill my entire inventory. That way, if I accidentally click on one of the fairy roses, it's unable to be put into our inventory and therefore the character will not harvest it. In my opinion, it's always beneficial to work smarter, not harder. The next morning, I start to fix my boo-boo by simply having all of the characters wake up with me and they go straight back to sleep. It's a hard life here on Exceptional Farm. A couple of days later and I'm ready to queue up the next set of upgrades. I run all the minions up to Robin's and we need hardwood. Going back to grab all that hardwood is going to be a real pain in the butt with all the minions, so I just have the main character bring it all up to Robin's. I pop down the supplies in a chest in Robin's shop, and this allows me to correct something that I mentioned earlier in this playthrough. It used to be the case that having chests in NPCs' walking paths meant that they would get destroyed, but it seems as of 1.6 they just kinda get shoved to the side. That is a massive quality of life improvement. With the supplies now available, I queue up the next round of upgrades and start sleeping again. For my own convenience, I just decided to play out the days that they were sleeping on the tiny screen, harvesting a bit more ancient fruit. The faster this process is over, the faster I can get back to one screen. Over the course of the upgrades, I'm definitely getting smarter with how I'm managing the minions. They all have a little bit of coffee and a couple of farm warp totems in their inventory now. This is exclusively to make my life just that little bit easier. On the 10th of fall, I have the Extended Family quest from the key room, so it's time to bust out the fishing rod, probably for the last time. This quest essentially repopulates all of the legendary fish, except for they're a little bit different this time. These catches do not count specifically towards the Master Angler achievement, but the completionist in me does need them done. The minions' houses are now fully upgraded and it's time to expand all of the rooms. It's gonna feel real good to get this done, but I can't seem to build the attic. This is because there's a window in the way, so it's back to the main character to save the day once again. Ah, there we go. This is gonna mark the last time that you see the minions. Back at the farm, it feels real good to be on a single screen again. I will not be putting any effort into decorating these places aside from making them consistent with their wallpaper and flooring. Oh, and getting rid of all the furniture. I don't think it's necessary, but I will be leaving a single bed in each of the houses in this little cubby. With what I'm about to be doing in these houses, I think the minions deserve at least one small piece of home. We're halfway through the month, and that means that it's going to be pumpkin harvest number 1. Of all of the giant crops that are capable of forming in this game, I definitely feel that pumpkins are the best, regardless of their monetary value. Alright, it's time for some more shenanigans. I was prepared to reset the day at the Luau just to keep these short, but I didn't actually have to. At the Stardew Valley Fair, instead of filling out our grange display with all of the beautiful things my farm produces, I'm just gonna stick in the mayor's shorts. Let's get them nice and centered in there and cue Lewis to come evaluate our box. He kinda stops and takes a look with no reaction. Wow, good poker face. Oh, just kidding, he's a little bit upsetty spaghetti with me. I take his 750 star token bribe and promise not to tell a soul, except for all of you, my lovely audience. Mischief managed, let's grab the shorts and head home. I have continued cycling all of the rare seeds in the greenhouse, but as you can see, the trees on the edges are full of fruit. There kinda just came a point when I stopped caring. There isn't much that's going to be coming out of these sweet gem berries, as the greenhouse will be converting to something else in the not too distant future. So I keep telling you just how valuable fiber is and then not really showing you why. I now have access to these garden pots, which do not themselves require fiber. What does require fiber is the deluxe retaining soil. With the deluxe retaining soil in these garden pots, as long as it's a multi-harvest crop and you water it once, that thing will be watered forever. Unfortunately, you cannot do this with the ancient seeds as the roots run too deep. Plus, that feels just a little bit exploitative. Instead, I fill them with a whole bunch of blueberries, broccoli, and strawberries. My thinking here surrounded the key quest for 100 items of the various different colors, particularly the blueberries, to avoid buying more Joja Cola. My indecision is going to cost me a ton of fiber in the retaining soil. I will be breaking and replacing all of these with different crops, but we'll get to that later. More importantly in these extra houses is that I now have 4 cellars to fill with casks. With the layouts that I'm using, this now results in 500 iridium quality wine per batch instead of 125. The starfruit industry churns on, and then in these houses I'm starting to set up a little bit. I have definitely been egg-spanding my crystallariums, filling them all with diamonds. They may fetch a pretty penny by themselves, but I do have a different plan for them. This is definitely not going to be the final configuration, though. You'll see it eventually. The morning of day 22, I met with more ancient fruit to harvest, and I decided to sell some stuff overnight. By overnight, of course, I mean that I'm going to bed before 11 in the morning. Now that the house is decorated, I decided that now is as good a time as any to go grab that golden clock and start working outdoors. Oh boy, I broke the money counter again. That's supposed to be 15 million. 5 stacks of base quality iridium wine sure does fetch a pretty penny. The next morning, I head down to the Wizard's Tower and let's buy the clock for 10 million gold. I'm just gonna throw it here for now, sure. The clock is going to prevent debris from appearing on the farm and the Ginger Island farm. It will also keep things like fences from decaying and just so happens to keep time with the endgame clock. Out on Ginger Island, I can verify that that golden clock was the last piece of my perfection puzzle, at least by the game standards. Look at that, 100% complete. I'm gonna have to sleep through the night though for the perfection to actually register. Before that, I make a stop at Clint's, making him a very wealthy man, buying a few million gold worth of ore. What can I say? I've done my time in the mines. I wake up the next morning and feel in my heart somewhere, somehow, Grandpa is beaming with pride. The legacy of Exceptional Farm is eternal. And for like the first time in the playthrough, let's actually zoom in on my character. We've come so far, and there's still a little ways that I'd like to go before I feel that perfection has been reached. There's a rumbling sound heard in the distance, so let's check that out next. Up at the tree farm, or I guess it's actually the train station, the boulder blocking the path north has now crumbled away. I head up to the summit and Harvey is up here waiting for me. He says he was looking back on the last 3 years and we've been through so much together, haven't we? I'm sorry, I don't remember you being there with a pickaxe next to me this whole time. But as we transition upwards into the credit sequence, I can't help but love it. I quite enjoy this sequence, especially the little message that pops up saying no Joja services used as Morris gets punted across the screen. Darn tootin', I didn't need any of those lame Joja services. The end of the cutscene shows Grandpa and Mr. Key giving us one final message. It seems like they've been our guardian angels. This just feels like such a beautiful closing point for this series. So instead, I'm gonna go to Robin's cabin and buy 25,000 wood. I was hoping that would be enough wood to take me through to the end, but it isn't. Back at the farm, it's time to spend the majority of that wood already. I craft the last couple of casks that I need to finish off the cellars, and then another 377 kegs. It's time to start making some real money. I start setting them up, and my indecision costs me once again. Never mind, I don't like this layout, let's chop them all down. Oh, and all of the crystallariums as well, I want 2 houses to be exclusively for kegs. I'm also adding some windows for style points, and possibly light. The next day, the bus stop and quarry kegs are ready, so let's chop all these down as well and move them back to the farm. This environment has provided me so much, and I think it's time that I started giving back. Step 1 is cleaning up all of this production equipment I have laying about the world. Here are the crystallariums being chopped down, those diamonds are a beautiful sight, and you might be thinking, hey, didn't I just see a kitchen space full of kegs? Well, yes, that was the other keg house, I'm gonna have 2. I get the second house nearly fully kitted out with kegs, but I run out. My limiting factor is once again iron, but as you saw, I bought a lot of it from Clint. I just need to run it through the smelters. The crystallariums are being moved into the greenhouse. See what I did there? It's the last day of fall and the last time that we're gonna see pumpkins on this farm. I harvest them up and then it's time to start designing. By which, of course, again, I mean just throwing stuff down and hoping that I like it. Winter is now upon us and I did move the house back up to the northeastern corner. It just feels right being next to the entrance. Easily one of the more tedious tasks is moving everything from my chests back over to the new production area, which is gonna sit right next to the house again. It's pretty much an all-day task in and of itself, but I do get it done. Hey, what's that statue? Well, that statue, my friends, is the Statue of Endless Perfection. I popped back out to Ginger Island earlier in the day to claim this statue from the Perfection Tracker in Key's Walnut Room. This bad boy is going to give us a Prismatic shard every morning for free. In the last part of the day, because Robin's shop is closed, I popped down to the Wizard Tower to move around my buildings. I feel like I'm getting somewhere with the rough layout, but I think adding a little bit more detail is going to help me see the whole picture. This is, after all, how I did my overlay for the Pokemon content, for instance. I start by organizing my big pieces, and then I start doing the finessing from there. The Starfruit Nightmare, production continues, and you can see that the bee houses are slowly getting filled in. I am absolutely chewing through these Starfruit seeds, so it's back out to Sandy's to buy another 3,000. After replanting the field, I split my Starfruit stacks in my inventory to go harvest the bee houses. As you can see, with my full inventory, I can hover across these fairy roses as much as I want and I will not harvest them. Nifty! And then it's back to designing. I mean, look at this professional level arc of totems. Professional. I head back to Robin's because building all of those crystallariums requires a lot of stone, so I buy 15,000 of that. And then it's time to start reconfiguring these fields for their final layout. I am 100% going to be using the pressure nozzles in these fields, and a good tip is to lay down a piece of flooring before your sprinkler. Flooring or stone pathing is going to prevent the sprinkler from getting broken when you use the hoe on it, for instance. Anything to make my life easier. I start laying out some fencing around what will be the animal area, and then take the fish ponds of shame and just kinda shove them in a corner. I did have other plans for these fish ponds, but they never really came to fruition. The income of resources that I was getting from them was simply too low. With my biggest pieces of the farm puzzle sorted now, it's time to start laying out some pathing. Another fun tip here is that you can see me using the hoe to determine exactly which tiles are plantable. I am by no means min-maxing this, and losing a single tile of plantable area in order to make the path look better is a-okay in my books. The way that I'm laying out this pathing is by thinking to myself, where am I going to be walking to and how am I getting there? The couple of hours that I've invested into Factorio have definitely made me appreciate these straight paths with production scattered around them. But it isn't going to be all about production anymore, and this top corner is definitely going to be a shrine to my achievements, as it were. I've also moved my production and sellables chests right into this little nook here. I have pretty much everything that I want to process in this little corner, and I guess I'm going to sneak these truffle oil machines just behind the house. I do still at least want to try to make the best use of space here. On the morning of winter day 6, it's the first time that these kegs are ready to cycle within the houses. Every single cycle, I'm now getting somewhere around 1200 wine. The only disadvantage to having this many kegs is that it pretty much takes all day just to cycle them. Granted, it is winter and the sun goes down a little bit earlier, but I was kegging from dawn till dusk. The next task is going to be converting the greenhouse to its final configuration and crop. As I'm tearing down the sprinklers and getting the field re-prepped, you can see in the seed makers at the bottom of the screen what I might have in mind here. Using the pressure nozzles, I can get away with only losing a single space of farmable area to a sprinkler. The reason I also destroyed the soil and the fertilizer within it is because I wanted to upgrade to hyperspeed grow. This field is not for human consumption, so don't worry about the radioactive ore going into the ground. I get everything laid out, hypergrow the entire space, and replant the greenhouse, this time with fairy roses. This, in combination with the diamonds from the crystallariums, is going to give us a pretty consistent income of fairy dust. The sheer volume of casks that I have running right now is going to be a little bit more than this crop can handle. However, don't forget about all of those mystic trees that I have tapped. The mystic syrup that I'm getting from them can be exchanged at the raccoon shop for more fairy dust. They're going to more than supplement the amount of fairy dust that I'm able to produce from this greenhouse. The last task of the day is, unlike in previous years, resetting up all of my scarecrows and lightning rods before the crops are down. I can be taught. I'm faced once again with a situation of more speed, less haste. I'm about to lose way too many mystic seeds throughout this process because instead of laying it out first and seeing if I liked it, I'm laying it out with the expensive bits first. Bad business egg. The reason I lose them is because I set them up and let them grow for a couple of days and then I have to chop them back down. Yes, I am using tree fertilizer on them, by the way, which is why they're able to grow in winter. I'm also taking the time to lay out some lighting spots because this farm has been in the darkness for far too long. A fun little trick that I learned while trying to get better at decorating things in Minecraft is to break up the textures. This corner of the path that's going to split off into the field, I want to try and rough up so that it looks really trodden. I continue the path past the obelisks and down to the Batcave, which I haven't been in a couple years. I do the same kind of texture breakup at the end of the path, and I'm honestly quite happy with it. The next day, I'm laying out some of the bluegrass starter, which our animals should love, and it's time to fix boo-boo number 1 with the mystic saplings. Did I say number 1? I sure did. I messed this up more than once. I take a quick little scoot around the farm just to see how I'm feeling about the layout as a whole so far. Pretty good, and look at me making these trees in line with the others. This is the point that I should have planted all those mystic saplings, so I'm in desperate need of tree seeds. Speaking of wasting effort, I'm now chopping down all of those garden pots in the house like I mentioned earlier. As far as I know, this is the only way to remove the stems from the planters, which also destroys the fertilizer. And several hundred fiber with it. I lay them all back down, refertilize them, and I'm gonna be replanting this with hops. I will not be producing any pale ale through the kegs, but I figured since this is definitely turning out to be more of a keg empire than an egg empire, I should at least stay on brand. On Friday the 12th, I have some exciting news. The last of the bee houses are going down at Ginger Island. Until I end up one short. It never fails. I go home, craft another one, and there we go. Honey farm completed. Hey, check it out, I bet you wouldn't have guessed to see more kegging. But the majority of my focus over the last few weeks has definitely been decorating. Laying out these path sections is definitely the next big piece that I felt needed to happen, and then I can start doing some of the detailing. I've actually never once used these brick paths, and it makes quite a nice little accent among all the wood. Laying out my little shrine area up top is definitely coming along nicely, leaning on the same techniques once again. Since I show you the kegs pretty much every time, I will only be showing the fairy rose harvest once. Maybe twice. With the footage accelerated, there is something satisfying about watching this. My next stop is at Pierre's shop, where I'm going to be buying a bunch more seeds. These seeds are never going to get planted. They're entirely to make tubs of flowers, the recipe of which I bought from the flower dance last spring. What, you thought I was gonna be good at detail work? Absolutely not. I'm just plopping like 100 of these around the farm. Ah, look at them, they're beautiful, and once spring rolls around, they will actually have flowers in them. The night market is back in town, and I've been trying to nail off the last of these secret note tasks. Obviously, since we've already perfected the game, it's not a requirement, but this is a requirement for me. This is my second last note to claim the reward from, and I get a pearl. That's gonna be going right into the aquarium back home. A few days pass, and I figured I'd show you the entire harvesting of this honey field. A full harvest of the field nets me 383 fairy rose honey with a value of 952 gold apiece with the artisan perk. To summarize, every 4 days this thing produces 345,000 gold. The 20th of winter ends up being quite a late night, which are rare these days. I cycle the kegs and the Ginger Island starfruit crop. Those two tasks alone pretty much take an entire day. But I more than make up for it, because on days like the 22nd, if there's nothing to do, 6:50 a.m., I'm going back to bed. My crystallariums and hops are available to harvest the next day, but I don't care about the hops. It just felt production-y, so let's fill space with it. Then, once again, my favorite day of the month, the 27th, rolls around, and I decided to reconfigure at least one of these basements. I've definitely noticed going through the keg houses that I start to go cross-eyed after a while. I set it back up as a more vertical layout, and it's still 125 casks down here, so it doesn't make any impact on the production itself. Gosh, I spend a lot of time kegging. But I'd say that it's worth it. At the end of the year, as is tradition, I make sure to sell everything that was in my production chest. I break the counter once again, making 18 million gold, but I think we can do better. This was a pretty darn good year for the exceptional farm, but I'd say we have room to grow. It's the 1st of spring, year 4, and we are going to whip through this year. The first task, as always, is going to be setting up the fields, but this time I'm doing it a little differently. Why would I bother replanting crops every season and multiple times a season sometimes when I can just drop down ancient seeds and let them produce all year for me? Every spot that I'm farming from this year is going to be producing ancient seeds, but I run out, so it's back to the greenhouse to play with the seed makers. That felt quite inefficient to me, so I tore them all up, replacing them in the attic of the greenhouse. Wait, no, they just came from the greenhouse, but the green trailer just doesn't have the same ring. Here you can see I never stop moving. The machines are producing quickly enough that I can just continuously go in a circle producing these seeds. I finish planting the last of them in the field, and then I go back over the entire thing with fertilizer. If I'm not mistaken, this should give us one additional growth cycle this year. I am flat out of wood again, so it's back to Robbins to buy another 15,000. And the eternal nightmare of kegs continues. You'll have to excuse me if I sound a little bitter about it. By the end of recording this playthrough, I was dreaming about kegs. With all of that sorted, I'm back to decorating using some of these gravel paths to accent the fields. I feel it creates a really nice little border all around the edges. Right, so I mentioned the Egg Empire, and I think it's finally time to start creating that. I haven't been super diligent with it, but I have been regularly visiting Robin to continue upgrading my barns and building more coops. This is going to be the final coop that's being built for a total of 4 barns and 6 coops, all of which are going to be upgraded to the max level. With a nice fat stack of cash now, I'm sick and tired of running out to the desert constantly, so I'm going to buy 10,000 starfruit seeds this time. That should be enough to carry me through till at least the end of this playthrough. With our keg operation expanded once again, our Ginger Island field is no longer outproducing our kegs. As a result, I'm now alternating between starfruit wine and ancient fruit wine. It's all well and good, but the nicest thing for me as a player is seeing a different color in these kegs now and then. I have continued harvesting the bee houses up to this point on their 4-day cycle. This is the last time that I'll be showing it, and among the last times that I actually do it. I have to admit that by the end of recording this, I was getting a little bit fried. If you're interested in seeing a continuation to the exceptional farm, let me know what you want to see in the comments. I could do a little planning and see just how much money we could make in a single year, we could see just how silly we can get in the mines, there's all kinds of things that we can still explore. The remainder of this playthrough, however, is going to be completing the Egg Empire and seeing how much money we make just off of the kegs and eggs. The morning routine is definitely becoming step out the front door, check the farm computer, and if there's nothing interesting, go back to bed. As you can see, this morning I have 119 crops available in the greenhouse and 1,152 machines ready. Given that the indicator kegs in front of the trailers are ready to go, I'd say that's the kegs.
Resting and suffering in kegs all day, and I'm friggin' them. I got a hot off kegs.
The morning of day 24, I get my first ancient fruit harvest ready to go at the main farm. The kegs may be outproducing Ginger Island, but there's no way that they're gonna outproduce all of this plus Ginger Island. Any more, that is to say, because I did run out of things to produce using those pumpkins to fill the gap. Now that the farm and the farmhouse are pretty decorated, there's still a little bit of work to do, but I think it's time that I actually dress to impress. I might be rocking this Tweedledum look, but I think it's time that our outfit reflects our bank total. I have a pretty good stack of prismatic shards available from the Statue of Endless Perfection, and I grab a bunch of cloth to head inside with. Sometime forever ago, I received a sewing machine from Emily. I'm going to be using cloth and prismatic shards to make, you guessed it, prismatic clothing. While doing it, it's random as to which pieces of clothing you get, so I do it until I get them all. I put on the nice sleeveless shirt and my farmer's pants, which I'm gonna have to swap. I'll figure it out eventually. But then it comes time to pick a new hat. There are some pretty fun options available, and I decided to go with the Infinity Crown. For all of about 5 seconds before I decided that I hated it and went back for my mystery top hat. It's been a while since I had this bad boy on my head, and I missed it. We hit day 27 in the month again, and all of the wine is gold, which isn't that exciting. But remember, I do have pretty robust fairy dust production at this time, so I can make all of that iridium quality right now. I repeat this process in all of the cellars, collecting 500 iridium quality wine and getting the next batch producing. It feels pretty darn good to get iridium quality wine in 1 month instead of 2 now. And the grind continues. Fairy roses, the Ginger Island crop, and more kegs. And of course more ancient fruit, which is the most exciting part for me. I think that's mostly because I haven't done this 100 times yet. The 5th of summer, year 4, is going to be our green rain day for the year, and you bet your butts I'm out harvesting. I can never get myself enough fiber. I've now also expanded the crystallarium setup, so it is now outproducing the greenhouse's fairy roses. That means that any excess diamonds are ripe to be sold. More harvesting, more kegging, and these coops are getting pretty close to being fully upgraded. You may notice that some of these chickens look a little bit more shiny than others. Upon achieving perfection, you can buy a golden egg from Key's Walnut Room. Just like the rare seeds, just like the ancient seeds, I started with one and am slowly growing them out from there. Aside from the animals that have been with us from the beginning, these coops are going to be filled with golden chickens to produce golden eggs. The barns are filled with ostriches to produce ostrich eggs. What? Normal chicken eggs aren't that exciting. Let's do something fun. Even more harvesting, even more kegging, and my shenanigans with the animals has definitely come back to bite me a little bit. I may be a good farmer, but I'm a terrible rancher, and I have no idea when my animals ran out of food. I come down to Marnie's to buy 12,000 hay because that bluegrass that I planted was eaten probably in the first couple weeks of spring. That's why I wanted the 4 silos, so that at least I have some amount of buffer. Then I decided to take advantage of a different type of item that's stocked in the raccoon shop. I can exchange 3 mystery boxes for a single golden mystery box, and then 20 of those for a single magic rock candy. No, I won't be using these for any reason today, but hey, if we want to re-explore Exceptional Farm, they're there if we want them. I will never be free of star fruit. Ooh, but ancient fruit, that's a little exciting. Since they chowed through all the bluegrass too, I've been thinking about shutting these barn doors. That would lock the animals inside so that as I'm working on the farm, I'm not hearing the incessant but the ever-present sound of kegging will keep me sane, right? Right? The fairy rose harvest is just so much fun, so here's it at like hyperspeed. While wanting to make this farm pretty, I am very much a function over form type of person. Those mystic trees lining the paths sure look pretty, but they're also producing even more mystic syrup. I've also gone around starting to do a little bit more of that detailing work, planting a few more trees, not mystic trees this time, and just spreading some grass around. The growth of grass is not affected by the golden clock, so it will still spread unless your ostriches are nomming on it too much. More harvesting, more planting. And let's check out how these coops are doing. That flock of chickens is getting pretty big, and every few days I come back in here to a sparkling new chicken being hatched. For your sake and for mine, I'm skipping a lot of kegging and harvesting footage, but hey, check it out, my outfit is now complete. I also figured, despite how much I love the thing, to unequip the parrot. I've been rocking around with the Basilisk Claw that makes me immune to debuffs. Outside of the mines, there aren't a whole lot of enemies, so I wasn't getting a lot of benefit from the Squawky Parrot. Suddenly, we're back at the 27th day of the month, so it's time for 500 more fairy dust and 500 more iridium quality wine. Speaking of the fairy dust, I have wisened up a little bit, and every time I go to harvest the greenhouse, I'm bringing 119 diamonds with me. That way, after I harvest the farm, I can just craft the 119 fairy roses into dust and plop it directly into the production chest, ready for the next batch. I continue grabbing golden eggs and sticking them right back into the incubators, and these coops have got to be getting close to being full now. Now, please enjoy my descent into madness as the entire next month is spent either sleeping, kegging, or harvesting. Seriously, that's pretty much it. I have hours of footage of me doing these 3 tasks over and over and over. Hey, look at that! We're on the 27th of the month again already! Bust out the fairy dust! You might have lost a little bit of the semblance of what time it actually is, and so did I. This is in fact the second last day of winter, so this is the last batch of iridium quality wine for this playthrough. To celebrate the last day of the playthrough, let's do a quick chest tour. The greenhouse chest has quite a few little goodies in it, but as you can see, I kind of abandoned the rare seeds in favor of fairy roses. Next is the production chest, and anything keggable still ends up in here, with a big stack of hay right next to the silos just in case I need a quick refill. As I whip through the supply chests, if you're interested, feel free to pause, but I'm not going to linger too long here. I thought that you might be interested in seeing just how many resources I've accumulated throughout this playthrough. It also doesn't help that I'm still totally stuck in the mentality of hoard everything. Yes, that even includes a chest that has 2 little items in it, a piece of wool and a piece of bread. Why? Because I refused to throw them out and I didn't have anywhere else to put them in that moment. With that, we find ourselves with the final chest, the sellables. I should note that all of these eggs, if turned into mayonnaise, would be far more valuable. The ostrich eggs turn into 10 mayonnaise apiece, while the golden eggs turn into 3 apiece. I definitely lost a lot of income potential by not maxing out every day, but I feel this is gonna be sufficient for today. We'll see what that's worth overnight, and then I stopped to make sure that all of my achievements were done. I'm missing one. Uh-oh, what is this? Do you remember that movie theater that I unlocked quite a while ago? That is what the final achievement is gonna be, so I head down to the theater to grab a couple of tickets for Harvey and I. I teleport back home, inviting Harvey to the movies with me, and head right back to the theater. And there's the achievement, 2 thumbs up for viewing a movie, even though we haven't seen it yet. You are able to grab a snack from the concession, and depending on who you're with, they'll like different things. I'm sure that Harvey would have loved the kale smoothie, but that's boring, man. We're out. Let's get the pizza. There are a couple different movies that will randomly be shown, and it seems that halfway through, Harvey hasn't touched his personal pizza at all. It seems I've fallen out of touch with my partner a little bit. Give me the pizza. I'll eat it. With the final achievement now unlocked, let's head home and see just how much money we made in year 4. Oh my, I really broke the counter this time. I can't make sense of that number on screen at all, but it is around 60 million gold. Not bad considering I slept through the majority of the year. And this, on the first day of year 5, is where this series ends. I take a quick lap of the house just to appreciate everything that I accomplished. Oh yeah, right! Do you see the little babies wandering around my house? Yeah, Harvey and I did adopt 2 of them, and I named them appropriately. I'll show you my plan for them in just a minute, but let's take a quick tour of the farm. The first day of the season is quite nice because a lot of the grass has grown back in, and some of these trees have grown up as well. If you're wondering, the majority of the trees on my farm outside of the mystic ones are maple. Oh, it's because I'm Canadian, eh? I gotta get my syrup, bud. Overall, I am very pleased with how this all turned out, despite the additional effort. As of today, our total earnings on Exceptional Farm are 117,808,618, with 65 mil in pocket. Not bad at all, so I grab my daily prismatic shard and teleport off to the mountains. Instead of going up to the Perfection Summit though to show off, I'm heading over to the Witch's Swamp. I head up to the Dark Shrine of Selfishness to submit my prismatic shard. This turns my children into doves that fly away forever. Goodbye, Sacrifice 1. Goodbye, Sacrifice 2. May this offering secure an exceptional future. I quickly pop back to the farm to see if Harvey cares that I just made our children go away, and he seems pretty unfazed by it. Granted, he is back down to 10 out of 14 hearts because I kind of ignored him for the last year and a half. Now we have all the time in the world to rekindle that flame. I want to extend a special thank you to all of those generous enough to support the channel through YouTube memberships, Patreon, and Super Chat. Your generosity makes this content possible for everyone out there to enjoy. From the bottom of my shell, thank you so much. That is a wrap. I want to thank you all for joining me in this adventure. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. A big reason why I wanted to really dial in this farm in the last year is because I'm going to be releasing it to you. I'll be making the save file for this farm available for my members and Patreons. Thank you so much for your support. And if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much. Your viewership and engagement make this content so fulfilling to create. This Stardew project was bar none the largest one that I've tackled on my channel to date. If you feel like I've earned it, leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know what you think. What did I miss? What could I have done better? And what do you want to see in the future? I love this game, and I would love to continue creating more content for it, after a much-needed break from kegs. It feels weird to be closing this series out, and since I suck at outros, I'm just gonna leave it there. Take care, everyone.